So you and I, we're about to go on a little adventure together. That adventure is going to span 118 years of Tudors, and it's going to be one generation at a time. How does that sound to you? I'll be your host this evening. My name is Christina. Thank you for joining us here at my Tudor Era Tapestry. In the waning months of 1497, as Richmond Palace stood cloaked in the mists of late autumn, the Thames mirroring the sky, heavy with clouds, Queen Eliza moved through the halls with quiet grace, her hair catching the flicker of torchlight, her gown brushing against the rushes. At 31, her beauty was tempered by the weight of queenship and the fresh sting of Perkin Warbeck's rebellion. Its collapse in October a fragile reprieve for the Tudor crown. The air carried November's chill and the scent of wood smoke, mingling with the waxen glow of candles in her privy chamber, where she sat with her embroidery, her needle pausing as her thoughts churned. Warbeck, the pretender, claiming to be her lost brother Richard, now in house arrest at court, his confession as a Fleming, a weaver's son, not a Yorkist prince, ringing hollow against the wounds of her past. Among her ladies, Elizabeth Howard, a sprightly 17-year-old lady-in-waiting, brought a youthful warmth to the chamber, her nimble fingers adjusting Eliza's embroidery frame with a shy smile, her presence a quiet comfort amidst the court's tensions. Nearby, Thomas Boleyn, a new face at court at 20, lingered on the edges of the hall, his sharp eyes and polished Kent manners marking him as an ambitious newcomer. His recent service against Cornish rebels earning him a place among the king's retinue. Eliza noted his deference, his bow crisp as he delivered his message from the council, his voice betraying a hunger for favor that she met with her gentle, appraising gaze. Eliza found solace in her children. Arthur, now 11, whose betrothal to Catherine of Aragon, daughter of Ferdinand and Isabella, was a beacon of Tudor ambition. The Spanish alliance, pressed by her mother-in-law, Margaret Beaufort, gained urgency after Warbeck's defeat, countering his slanders of Tudor legitimacy. Eliza reviewed envoys' letters praising Arthur's health, ensuring the court dazzled for the Spanish ambassadors, with feasts under chandeliers of wax and roses, funded by her dower lands. Elizabeth Howard flitted amongst the guests, her youthful grace aiding Eliza's diplomacy, while Thomas Boleyn, ever observant, hovered near the councillors. His newness to court tempered a keen desire to rise. In the nursery, where Arthur read quietly and young Meg and Henry played, Eliza watched her son with pride and fear. Elizabeth Howard gently guiding Meg's hand with a toy in the chapel, where incense curled and stained glass glowed. Eliza's prayers were fervent for Arthur's strength, for Catherine's journey, for a crown untainted by rebellion. As winter bloomed, her resolve held firm, her love for her young son and her lost brothers, weaving a vow to protect the Tudor legacy. By spring, as Greenwich Palace's gardens bloomed with tender green, Eliza carried another hope for the dynasty, her body gently rounding with a new child. Margaret Beaufort ensured preparations for the child, her wealth securing linens and a rose-carved cradle, while Eliza's dower lands funded physicians. Elizabeth Howard had noticed Thomas Boleyn, now a familiar figure, who carried council messages with growing confidence. His ambition noted by Eliza's watchful eye, her pregnancy became a symbol of continuity, countering rebellion's whispers. She oversaw the nursery's expansion, each kick of the child within strengthening her resolve. Her love for her growing family, a shield against the pain of her lost brothers and the threats circling the crown. In the crisp autumn of 1498, the court buzzed with the uneasy presence of Perkin Warbeck, the pretender who had claimed to be Richard of York, now a captive spectacle under King Henry's watchful eye, stripped of his royal pretense after his surrender the previous year. Warbeck's confession as a Fleming impostor had not dulled Margaret's vigilance. Her ledgers, meticulously kept, recorded the costs of his guarded confinement. Sums for his keepers, for the spies who tracked his every word. Each entry a testament in her role in safeguarding the throne from embers of Yorkist rebellion. Warbeck's presence at court, where he was paraded as a curiosity in a velvet doublet, his charm a hollow echo of Plantagenet grace, had grated on Margaret's nerves. She observed him from a distance, her stern gaze noting his interactions with courtiers, wary of any lingering sympathies for his cause. Her wealth funded the court's defenses, ensuring loyal guards shadowed his every step, their armor clinking faintly in the halls. Yet in June 1498, Warbeck's hubris flared anew. He slipped his keepers, fleeing Woodstock Palace in a desperate bid for freedom. The news reached Margaret like a cold wind, her quill pausing over her ledgers as reports detailed his swift recapture near Sheen, betrayed by his own lack of allies. The escape, though thwarted, deepened her distrust, her mind turning to the tower where another danger lingered, Edward, Earl of Warwick, Maggie Pole's brother, whose Plantagenet blood made him a silent peril. In the frost-laden dawn of February 1499, as Greenwich Palace gleamed under a mantle of winter light, the cries of a newborn prince pierced the stillness, heralding another triumph for the Tudor line. On February 21, Queen Eliza delivered a third son, another boy, christened Edmund, in a poignant nod to Margaret Beaufort's late husband, Edmund Tudor, Earl of Richmond, whose union with Margaret had sown the seed of the dynasty now blooming. The birth of Edmund was a sacred thread in the Tudor tapestry, weaving past sacrifice into present strength. Her wealth ensured Elizabeth's line in chamber was a haven of furs and embroidered linens, while her meticulous hand orchestrated the christening, set to bind the child to the crown's enduring legacy. The christening of Prince Edmund transformed the palace chapel into a sanctum of splendor where candlelight danced on gilded icons, and the font, draped in cloth of gold, shimmered like a beacon, with Edward Stafford, the young Duke of Buckingham, standing as godfather. His noble bearing and loyalty a solemn pledge to guide the prince in faith and honor. In her chamber, as she penned letters to her envoys securing Arthur's Spanish match, Margaret's thoughts lingered on the Tower's prisoners. Warbeck, the false prince, and Edward, the true one, whose fate she feared might seal the dynasty's safety. The birth of Prince Edmund had strengthened the Tudor line, but also cast the prisoners' existence in sharper relief, their Plantagenet blood a latent threat to the infant heir. Her prayers, whispered amid the chapel's sacred mist, sought strength for Henry's reign and protection for the new prince, but the weight of her cousin's brother and the pretender's defiance cast a shadow. Her every act a calculated thread in the Tudor tapestry, woven to endure beyond the reach of traitors' hands. In the summer of 1499, the sun bathed Eltham Palace in a golden glow, its warm light spilling over the red brick turrets and glinting off the leaded windows. The air was thick with the scent of roses and honeysuckle, their blooms heavy in the manicured gardens, where courtiers strolled in silks and velvets. Amid this splendor, Maggie moved through the Tudor court with quiet dignity, her steps measured, her presence unassuming yet marked by the weight of her Plantagenet blood. At 26, her face bore the refined grace of her lineage, descended from the House of York, a name that still whispered rebellion in the shadows of King Henry's fragile dynasty. Her clear eyes, however, betrayed her heart heavy with unspoken fears, shadowed by the growing dread for her younger brother Edward, still in the Tower of London alongside the now disgraced pretender Perkin Warbeck. Maggie's loyalty to Queen Eliza and the Tudor dynasty that had claimed England's throne was a delicate thread, stretched taut against the gnawing terror she felt for Edward. At 24, her brother was a gentle soul, more scholar than soldier, with a boyish laugh that echoed in her memories of their childhood at Middleham Castle. Yet his very existence, as the last male heir of the Plantagenet line, stirred Yorkist hopes among those who still dreamed of a White Rose ascendant, whose crown rested uneasily on his brow. Edward's name was a spark in a tinderbox, a threat that could ignite a rebellion at any moment. The king's spies, ever watchful, whispered of plots woven in alehouses and foreign courts, and Maggie knew Edward's imprisonment was as much a precaution as a punishment. Warbeck, the charismatic impostor who had claimed to be Richard of York, only deepened the court's paranoia, his failed rebellion casting a long shadow over her brother's fate. In the quiet of her chamber, where the evening light filtered through the narrow windows and cast trembling shadows on the tapestried walls, Maggie knelt before a small altar, her crucifix gleaming faintly, its surface worn smooth by her touch. The air was thick with the scent of beeswax from a single candle, its flame flickering, as if in sympathy with her murmured prayers. Her fingers, clasped tightly, bore the calluses of a woman who had spent years stitching her family's fractured honor. Yet no needle could mend the rift between her Yorkist blood and her Tudor allegiance. In the palace gardens where she walked arm in arm with Eliza, their gowns brushing the lavender and stirring its sharp, sweet scent, Maggie masked her fears behind a practiced smile. Yet as they returned to the great hall, Maggie's gaze drifted to the horizon. Beyond the rolling fields and the Thames silver ribbon, the tower loomed, its gray bulk a silent rebuke to her hopes. She thought of Edward, alone in his cell, his books and prayers his only solace. She thought of Warbeck, whose charm had once swayed courts, but now crumbled under the weight of his deception. And she thought of her own place in this intricate dance of power, where every step was measured, every allegiance tested. The summer of 1499 bathed Sheen Palace in a golden glow, where 9-year-old Princess Meg blossomed into a poised princess. In a sun-dappled chamber, she sat beside her mother, Eliza, her nimble fingers threading a needle through linen, stitching intricate rose patterns, red and white entwined, the proud Tudor emblem, symbolizing her family's hard-won unity. Meg's auburn hair, once tumbling loose during romps in the garden, was now pinned neatly beneath a velvet coif, a subtle sign of her nearing duties as a royal daughter. Her laughter, bright as the chime of silver bells, mingled with the rustle of her mother's silk skirts, their shared moments of refuge amid the court's ceaseless demands. Her brother, Harry, 8, and full of mischief, lounged nearby, tossing a leather ball and teasing her about her clumsy steps. Meg stuck out her tongue, breathless but determined. Their laughter echoed, a rare moment of freedom in the ordered world of the Tudor court. Meg joined her siblings in lessons that filled their days. In the great hall, the sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting jewel-like patterns on the stone floor, as they parsed Latin verbs with their tutor. The court hummed with purpose, its rhythm steadied by the fading threat of Perkin Warbeck, the pretender who had claimed to be her Uncle Richard, Duke of York. Meg, dimly aware of her future as a diplomatic bride, absorbed the weight of her royal name during quiet moments with her grandmother, Margaret. In the chapel, Margaret's voice spoke of alliances with Scotland, her words weaving visions of peace secured through marriage. Meg clutched a small prayer book, its leather cover worn smooth, a gift from her grandmother, inscribed with a Latin verse urging faith and duty. Her fingers traced the words as she knelt on a velvet cushion, her young mind balancing childhood's joys, racing Henry through the orchards, plucking daisies with Mary, against the growing expectations of queenship. The court's vibrancy masked its undercurrents of vigilance. Meg overheard snippets of her father Henry's councils, where envoys discussed her brother Arthur's recent betrothal to Catherine of Aragon, a Spanish alliance to bolster the Tudor crown. These glimpses of diplomacy, filtered through her grandmother's stern counsel and her mother's gentle encouragement, shaped Meg's understanding of her role. At 9, she stood at the cusp of girlhood and duty, her heart a garden of Tudor roses, red and white, blooming amidst the thorns of a realm still healing from a rebellion's sting. And now, thistles. In her quiet moments, Meg sat with her embroidery, stitching roses under her mother's watchful eye. She sensed the importance of little Edmund's arrival. Meg, named for her grandmother, noticed that the newest baby was named after their grandfather, Edmund, gone before even their father was born. She didn't fully grasp the plots that haunted her father's counsels, but Edmund's birth felt like a victory, a spark of light against the court's darker currents. As she raced Harry through the frost-kissed gardens, her laughter ringing, Meg dreamed of teaching Edmund to pick daisies. In the late summer of 1499, as the sun cast a golden veil over Alhambra's intricate courtyards in Granada, Catherine of Aragon, a poised 13-year-old princess, stood on the cusp of her destiny, her auburn hair gleaming beneath a jeweled coif, her gown of crimson silk embroidered with pomegranates, whispering of her royal lineage. Accompanying her was 9-year-old Maria, her devoted companion, wide-eyed and loyal, absorbing the grandeur of the moment as they prepared for a journey that would bind their fates to England. The air was heavy with the scent of orange blossoms and myrtle, the palace's tiled halls echoing with the murmur of Castilian and the soft strum of lutes. Catherine, daughter of Ferdinand and Isabella, was a prize of European diplomacy, her betrothal to Arthur a delicate thread weaving Spain to England's fledgling dynasty. The news of Perkin Warbeck's captivity in the Tower, his rebellion crushed, his false claim to the Yorkist throne exposed, reached the Spanish court like a distant echo, reassuring her parents of the Tudor crown's stability. Catherine, though young, understood the weight of this alliance, her tutor's lessons in Latin and statecraft sharpening her mind for the role she would play across the sea. In the cool shade of the Court of Lions, where fountains bubbled and mosaics gleamed, Catherine pored over her letters from England, their vellum pages detailing Arthur's virtues, penned with the urgency of Margaret Beaufort's ambition. Her heart stirred with a mix of duty and curiosity, envisioning the prince who would one day be her husband, his image shaped by envoys' glowing words. Beside her, Maria gazed with wide-eyed wonder, her heart swimming with anticipation for the journey ahead. Maria, fiercely loyal and ever observant, expected to serve Catherine faithfully in a foreign land, envisioning a future where their bond would anchor them through the uncertainties of an English court. Catherine, though young, grasped the gravity of the union, her mind honed by lessons in Latin and statecraft, while Maria, ever attentive, expected to learn the ways of diplomacy at her side, her role as confidant growing with each step toward England. In the tranquil shade of her garden, Catherine studied letters from England, their pages extolling Arthur's virtues, through the fervent pens of Margaret Beaufort and Elizabeth of York, but rarely from Arthur himself. Her heart fluttered with duty and curiosity, imagining the prince she would wed, shaped by her envoy's praise. In the chapel, where incense swirled and candlelight flickered on golden altars, Catherine knelt, her rosary beads clicking as she prayed for strength, her Spanish and Latin whispers seeking divine blessing for their shared journey. As they strolled the Alhambra's gardens, jasmine scents clinging to the air, Catherine's thoughts turned to the misty isle awaiting her, her future a tapestry of promise and peril. In the crisp autumn of 1499, Sheen's Palace's gardens glowed with the amber hues of fading sunlight, where 3-year-old Mary Tudor toddled along the mossy paths, her golden curls bouncing beneath a velvet cap, embroidered with tiny silver stars. The youngest of 4, she trailed her siblings: Arthur, the solemn Prince of Wales; Harry, a whirlwind of mischief; and Meg, her laughter like a lark's song. She clutched a tiny posy of late-blooming roses, their petals soft against her dimpled hands. The air carried the earthy scent of fallen leaves and the faint sweetness of the flowers, a fleeting gift from the gardens before winter's chill. Her mother, Eliza, ever gentle, in a gown of russet silk, knelt beside her, guiding Mary's unsteady steps with her tender hand, her voice weaving simple songs of saints and stars that echoed in the child's heart. Mary's grandmother, Margaret, stood nearby, her stern features softening with an approving nod as she watched the toddler mimic her mother's notes, her small voice bright but wobbly. The court, though, hummed with unease, its corridors whispering of Perkin Warbeck, who now awaited execution in November, his fate sealed after years of stirring rebellion against the Tudor crown. Mary, blissfully unaware of such shadows, giggled at her brother Harry's antics, his exaggerated bows and playful sword fights with a wooden stick. In the nursery, Mary's world had expanded to include Edmund, his cradle, a new center of her play. She babbled to him, offering a wooden rattle that Harry teased was too loud, while Arthur, ever the scholar, murmured Latin blessings over the babe. Their mother watched with quiet pride, her fingers brushing Mary's curls as she whispered of Edmund as a gift to their house. Mary sensed the weight of her mother's voice, though she couldn't grasp the deeper fears. To Mary, Edmund was a playmate to come, a brother to chase through the sunlit gardens when he grew. As she danced in the nursery, her tiny shoes tapping the rushes, her innocence shone like a star, a fleeting light in a court braced against rebellion's thorns. Arthur, ever serious, read aloud from a Latin primer, his voice a steady drone that lulled Mary as she clutched her posy, now wilting, but treasured. Her father Henry, a distant figure, often cloaked in the weight of kingship, occasionally scooped her up, his rare smile warming her as he murmured of her future as a princess of peace. Yet the court's vigilance never eased, its guards and spies a silent shield around the fragile Tudor throne, still scarred by the Wars of the Roses and Warbeck's lingering threat. Mary was too young to grasp the stakes. She danced in the sunlight, her tiny shoes scuffing the flagstones, her world a haven of lullabies and roses, her innocence a spark of light in a realm of thorns, belied the Tudor dynasty's relentless guard. As the executioner's shadow loomed and the crown's future rested on the shoulders of children just like her. You can share your thoughts with me at longlivethequeenpodcast@gmail.com. Slide into my DMs on Facebook or Instagram at Long Live the Queen Podcast, or join the party on Patreon, where we have extended episodes and bonus content.